Well, hey, good afternoon, everybody. Actually, good morning for those out west. I'm out in the East Coast here in Michigan. My name is Paul Stowers. I'm a diamond executive with the company, been with the company from the very beginning, and wanted to share with you some information. Uh, just that we are seeing just tremendous results with the products Avini is bringing to the market, and I could think of no better person to share that information with you than our vice president, one of the founders of the company, who him and I have become very close friends over the past couple of years. His this product, as you'll hear, one of our core products, our tip of the spear product, saved his life, and he got passionate about that. He's a scientist in the agricultural world, has three other companies developing non-heavy metal, natural or I wouldn't say organic, but food grade fertilizers, and he's out in Utah, does a lot of stuff on the West Coast and across the country with that. But I'll let him share his story. So we're privileged to have him here today to share with us. And so, Doug, I know you're on there. I'm going to give you control of the computer here, so you can share your screen. But but go ahead, Doug. Dickey, our vice president, founder of the company Avini Health. Take it away.
Thanks, Paul. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, as Paul said, my name's Doug Dickey. I am Vice President of Sales for Avini Health, and it's great to talk to you guys. I'm currently in Tacoma, and so I'm currently in a hotel on my way to a meeting today, but I appreciate the opportunity to share what we're doing and my experience. Um, so my background is I was born and raised in Kennewick, Washington, and at about 25 years old, I moved to Vancouver, Washington, and worked in Portland at a pest control firm. And I was an applicator. Every day I opened about 15 packages of pesticide and mixed it with water and sprayed it around homes. And about 2 years working there, I show up one morning for work, and there's a guy sitting on a little cushion, and I make a joke about it. And before I ask him, about sitting on this cushion, he says, well, he had his colon cut out that weekend. 5 feet of his colon, was 22 years old, and had a colostomy bag. And so before I could apologize for the bad joke, the guy next to him said, yep, had mine taken out last year, or a portion of it. Another person did the same thing, and none of them apparently saw the pattern that I saw. And I was having all kinds of issues with my intestinal tract and colon. So I quit that day, knowing that it was the pesticides that caused this issue, and left. I had about 2 months worth of insurance, having quit there. So I went to a doctor, had him check, and got some bad news about things in my colon that were going to change my life. I was 27 years old. And so I decided against the doctor's suggestions, and I decided I was going to use nutrition. I'd been very, very healthy. I had only I'd gotten overweight working at this job, but essentially I was going to change my diet and change my lifestyle and fix this problem. And so I did that. I changed my diet. I started doing sort of a vegan diet, if you will. Read over 100 books about nutrition and fixing your body and things like that. Lost 45 pounds in 3 months, and felt great. Colon stopped hurting. I was eating lots of fiber, so I was flushing everything out, doing a bunch of cleanses. And within 5-6 months, I was teaching people how to use nutrition to get out of sickness and change their life. And so I continued doing this for several years. I was a bodybuilder, I was teaching people how to work out. I ended up doing powerlifting, and uh, about year 7, I started having some really running out of energy, exhausted, tired. Uh, Ended up having my adrenals shut down. Kind of went into what they call a fight or flight, where my body was just burning glycogen, wouldn't burn fats and proteins, and started getting sicker and sicker. And went back to a doctor. I wasn't a big fan of doctors, but I went back to a doctor for the colon, and basically found out that thing that was small in my colon had now become larger, even through all the nutrition, all the working out, all the exercise, everything. And so I figured this was just fate. And so I decided I was just going to give up and not do anything about it. I didn't see how cutting a big chunk out of my body was going to improve my life. And I, honestly, I didn't want that colostomy bag. I would, I made the joke that I'd just rather die than have a colostomy bag. And so, anyways, continued through life, doing everything I could, continued getting sicker and sicker. And fast forward to about 4 years ago, a friend of mine, a nutrition expert, a guy that had been living the life of nutrition, ended up getting his prostate numbers checked. And they went and looked at the prostate and found 5 lesions on his prostate. And they started to set out a program for him. And he decided not to do that. He kind of doubled down on the nutrition thing. But he remembered somebody named Marcy, who he had gone to, he had been in another network marketing company with her. And she had had 4 masses in her body, and she had taken something and the masses went away. And so he called her. She then told him about something we now call Cell Defender, essentially a zeolite that has been changed and biotechnology applied to it. And so he starts taking it. 4 months later, it's all gone. It's biopsies, pictures showing it going away. So I just couldn't understand how zeolite, which is made from a mineral that's natural, that cleans the environment of heavy metals, I didn't understand how that could benefit. And so I chose not to try it. I kind of had my plan. I had a $5 million life insurance policy, and I was pretty close to using it. And so I chose not to pursue it at all. 8 months later, another friend of mine who I owed a lot of money to, I was forced to listen to him since I owed him so much money. And so he had a product experience, the same product. His was with ringing in the ear and balance, 80-year-old Chinese guy, a doctor. And so I decided I'd go ahead and try it. Didn't have any expectations. I kept up with my awful diet. I still had a plan that, within a year or so I was going to be gone. And so I started taking it, and basically you just shake the bottle and you put a few drops in your mouth, just like this. And I did that every hour, similar to what Marcy had done and also Dave. And noticed nothing. Whole week goes by, don't notice any change. I'm sleeping 16 to 18 hours a day. I'm exhausted all the time. I've got a heart issue. I've got a thing growing underneath my armpit, a thing growing on top of my head. I had all these issues from not dealing with this thing in my colon in the beginning, or choosing to deal with it with nutrition. And so end of the second week, middle of the second week, I had some rectal bleeding, about a half a cup a day. It was awful. That goes away. The end of the second week, hemorrhoids disappear. Again, I'm not changing anything. My diet's the same. It's awful. Consisted of about eight Coca-Colas a day. And the third week, a skin issue on the top of my head disappeared, came out as a bunch of pimples on my neck. Still didn't notice anything physically, still exhausted, sleeping all the time. Week 4, I literally come out of a depression. All of a sudden, I'm waking up at 6 in the morning. I can't sleep. I feel like I need to go run. I start peeing a awful, awful smelling, dark beer looking fluid. And every time I'd pee, I'd have to hold my breath. It was awful smelling, like a gutted deer sort of smell. And so my thought was, I'm starting to detox whatever these toxins were in my body. And when I come out of the depression, all of a sudden I'm confused. How is it possible a mineral can have such big effects? I had blood sugar issues. They balanced on their own, still not changing my diet. My my eyesight improved, my sleeping was improving. I had all this energy now. And so I started to look into it. I'm a kind of a researcher, a scientist. I've got to understand how the airbag works before I get in the car. It's kind of me. I'm very technical minded, and I remember everything that I read. And so I started looking into it. I contacted Rick Deitch, the category creator of these liquid zeolites or colloidal suspensions of zeolites. And I just start learning and learning and learning because I've got to understand how is it possible. And I didn't get enough information, so I decided to put myself to a test. I decided to, when I was 21, I climbed the Grand Canyon from the rim all the way down to the river, to the ranch, back to the river, and up to the top again in one day. And at 21, I'd done it in 11 and a half hours, which is quite a feat. And I thought, I'm going to go put myself through this. I'll either die or this is real. All this energy, all this clarity, it's one or the other. So that weekend, drove with 3 young people to carry my dead body out if it didn't work. And we climbed it, finished it, and 6,000 vertical feet down and up in one day. And I did it in 10 and a half hours and an hour faster. So at that point, I knew, and I was exhausted. It took me a day to catch up, but there's no way I could have done that 5, 6 weeks earlier. I mean, I was exhausted at the top of the stairwell going upstairs. So I realized it's real. It's not in my mind. So then I flew out, met with Rick Deitch, started to find out, read everything I could on zeolites, on everything, and discovered some things sort of by accident, that everything sort of ties to the liver and the burden of all these toxins and metals and chemicals that are in our environment. And I'll show that here in a moment with our presentation, that basically stops our liver from being able to function. And then when the liver stops functioning, the adrenal glands start to take over, and they then run out of energy, and then the kidneys. And when these organs start to fail, you get all these other problems with your thyroid, problems with your pancreas, problems with your spleen, prostate, really any of the endocrine glands and many of the other glands. And so when I was able to piece things together, reading different studies on toxins, and we're removing those toxins, then all of a sudden it made perfect sense. So I started sharing it with everybody, and actually joined the network marketing part of it and started doing that. I was not a fan of network marketing before that because of seems like you have to be a criminal to start a network marketing company nowadays. So I didn't like the scammy nature of these things going out of business. Well, as soon as I join, I get going, I get diamond, telling everybody my story, the company fails. And the owner gets indicted on 8 counts and then 16 counts. And so this other company that's selling this product, Rick's product, goes down. And that's where I'd met Paul. And so we go to another company, and it fails 9 months. These narcissistic visionary leaders, they just get greedy, I guess. And so we decided, I petitioned Rick and his business partner, Neil, over and over again, thousands of times. Let's start our own company for the purpose of getting this product out. This product gave me a second chance on life. And there's so many people like me that need a second chance on life. I'm 55 now. I am twice as healthy as I was when I was 52. I just climbed Mount Olympus in Utah in 5.5 hours in snowshoes in the winter, which is I couldn't have done when I was 20. I couldn't have done it at any time in my previous life. But my health has come back in such an incredible way because of the use of these products. I want to share my screen. I'm going to kind of bounce through. Anybody have any questions? While I set up here.
One question, Doug. Is that the only thing you took was the Cell Defender?
Yes, there was no other products. The company had other products like CBD cream, a electrolyte product, but this was the only product that I took. I took it every hour, 10 drops, 10 to 15 drops every hour, so a bottle every 5 days, the Marcy dose. And I asked, well, why 15 drops? Why not just drink a bottle a day? They said, well, the bloodstream only takes in 10 to 15 drops because it still has to maintain homeostasis. So it'll take it into the bloodstream and lymphatic system, but it's maxed out. So it has its own safety valve, basically. If I drink a gallon of it, my body's only going to take 10, 15 drops into the bloodstream. The rest would just flush through the body, through the colon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And I have a lot of slides in this. I have different presentations I do for different people. Sometimes I'm talking to, retired folks. Sometimes I'm talking to kids. So there's a lot of slides in here. I may bounce past them. But our company's called Avini Health. Advances in Natural Healing is our tagline. And I just want you to think about something as we walk through this. What are we told that we need to do to be healthy? From the very, very beginning, eat good nutrition, right? Eat organic or eat, vegetables, or even think of that old pyramid that we had. And of course, nutrition is not like it used to be. So we need to supplement vitamins, minerals, nutraceuticals, these sort of things, right? And then, of course, exercise. We need to get blood flowing. We've got to reduce stress. This is what we're told that we need to do to be healthy. But how many do you know that do everything here very, very well and still end up in an unhealthy situation? Anybody know somebody that gets lung cancer? They've never smoked in their life. They've never done anything to warrant lung cancer all the time. How healthy are you? Could there be something other than the water we drink, the air we breathe, or the food that we eat that determines our level of health? And this is where I want to ask this question: are we toxic? There's over 70,000 known chemicals and toxins that have been mapped out since the 70s that affect us each day. When I first found out about these toxins, that the pesticides that I thought were enzyme inhibitors that I had ingested for a long time, they did shut down my colon. They did cause issues with my colon, but that was not life-threatening. What was life-threatening is the fact that I had 45 pounds of fat that was holding heavy metals like arsenic and cadmium and chromium that I had bioaccumulated, not only from the food that I eat, but from the pesticide exposure, because they put these heavy metals in the pesticides. They put them in fertilizers. They put them in fungicides, insecticides, you name it. They even feed it to chickens in the chicken feed, or pigs in the pig feed. And so this accumulation was stored in the fat in my stomach. Imagine what happens when I burn through 45 pounds of fat due to my diet changes. Where did all those toxins go? Liver, adrenal, kidneys. So these 70,000 toxins, NIH suggests that these are some of the symptoms you would expect from chronic toxin poisoning, heavy metals specifically, and then endocrine disruptive chemicals, metabolism disruptive chemicals. And we can name all of them. We'll actually just touch on each one. So these are some of the things to expect, not ruling out death also. Where do these toxins come from? As I said, food, hormones, and pesticides are a major component. air and water. When I found out that lead and arsenic and cadmium volatilize and go into the air, that the air actually has a certain parts per billion component everywhere in the country, from us digging up, trying to find lithium and cobalt and other stuff. Household chemicals, gasoline and oil, toxins from skincare. These heavy metals, for instance, bind to enzymes and disrupt normal cell metabolism. This is how we get bad cells in our body. Lead, mercury, aluminum get stored in areas of the brain that stop the body from working very well. Cadmium, nickel. Cadmium and nickel and arsenic, NIH, 96% of all cancers, and in fact, every tumor cancer, every female cancer is contributed to by arsenic, cadmium, and nickel. And you can probably add chromium to that too. So these metals are in our environment, and we are taking them in astronomical amounts. Even before we're born, landmark cord blood studies showed that these toxins are making their way from the mother through the cord, filling up the entire filter, and then into the baby during the entire gestation period. What if that mother was taking 20, 30, 40 drops a day, and she's peeing for the baby? Guess what? She could also clean out of the baby's environment. Urban air pollution linked to chromosomal abnormalities in infants in New York. So here we have health effects of pollution, both air, water, soil contamination. Could our modern day environment be a primary factor in determining whether we're healthy or not? How about this? How do these metals end up in our food? Did you know in 1993, Congress passed a bill that allows industry, Ohio, Pennsylvania, other areas, to send their toxins to fertilizer companies to mix it in with the fertilizers to redistribute out into the land. Where prior to that, they had to put it in a concrete block and send it to Utah, at $10,000 per cubic foot of toxins, to be bound up forever. But no, they just put it in with fertilizers now and spread them out in small, safe level of toxins. And you can see the problems with the body that come from these metals. PFAS. These are chemicals and plastics and fire retardants and everything. My worst thing was popcorn bags. I had no idea it was loaded with these. So you heat that popcorn up, the bag just leaches these toxins into it. And I love popcorn. That was sad to me. So last one is these toxins get tied in with the DNA and they cause obesity. The 42% increase in obesity, people getting fatter over the last 25 years, is not due to us eating ding-dongs and ho-hos and not exercising, because the rat population also had a 42% increase in fat production. It is environmental, and it's these chemicals. And up until our product, there was not a good way to remove these chemicals and toxins safely. So 4 questions. How healthy do we think we are now? How long and how much heavy metals, volatile organic compounds, PFAS, other chemicals do we have to take in before it reaches critical failure? I could be healthy today, but 2 weeks from now, I could have received just enough of one toxin to cause critical failure. What can we do about it? What if there's a company, scientific breakthrough, product supported by 14 clinical studies proven to remove safely, consistently, and at the highest rate possible, these toxins from the body via the urine channel? Simple, easy, no downside. And that's what Avini was started for. Rather than a company to go out, oftentimes the companies are made and then they find some product to sell. In this case, we have a product that we have to get out to people. We have to save lives, like many of us have had this experience. And so we need a company that's stable. We were debt-free day 4 in business. We stack away all that we save, everything that we have for the growth of this, because we want to be around 50, 60, 70 years, as long as it takes. And so Rick Deitch, the guy in the middle, is our biochemist. Brilliant. He was a biochemist at Rexall 25 years ago. He remembers everything he's ever read and understands and can recall it word for word. Absolute brilliant pharmaceutical biochemist. He participated at Duke Research in producing several chemotherapies, worked alongside Nobel Peace Prize inventors of chemotherapies. His original intent with the zeolite was to reduce its size so it could fit in the bloodstream and clean it out of all the toxins it had taken in over millions of years. So that way it could be taken orally, it'd go into the bloodstream, and it would grab the chemotherapies after it killed the cancer, but before it harms your cells. And then you would pee it out. And that was his original intent. That's why he spent 7 years creating processes and machinery to be able to do something no one else had done. He's the category creator of this kind of product. Absolutely brilliant and accessible, very accessible. Neil Roth, his business partner, was former CEO of a company called Eckerd Drugs. He had run as vice president, part of Rite Aid for 9 years. He's run several billion-dollar companies. He majored in nuclear physics at West Point, and just absolutely brilliant financial mind. Been retired since he was 40-something. Doing network marketing, been in network marketing so he could stay home with his kids. So he's been all the way to Triple Diamond. And he says, he talks about, if it only takes a penny, then you spend a penny. A lot of people spend dimes when it only costs a penny. He's very, very frugal when it comes to finances, which we absolutely love, because you're going to be in a business a long time if you manage your money correctly, and we do. Myself, I'm VP of Sales. I'm an inventor of fertilizers, some other technologies to get rid of algae, and I have 3 companies: a manufacturing company, a distribution company, environmental company that I run on the side when I don't really have enough time to do all of them, but luckily those kind of run themselves. And we're the owners of the company, and the company's been debt-free since day 4, about 15 months so far. And we're going to continue that. We pay everything in cash when the bills due, which I believe is one of the most important things. So this Rick Deitch, this is the product Cell Defender. Again, 14 clinical studies. We have tons of other studies on clinoptilolite and how it works, what it does in the body. And it comes in glass bottles, comes in plastic. We have it for different people, different needs. So I'll talk about a few more slides, and then we'll stop for some questions. So properties of zeolite. This is what it looks like. It's a cage structure. It's made during volcanic eruptions, and it's what cleans the earth right now out in nature. So when you see smoke, you see smog. What's filtering that to make it clear the next day? It's zeolite rock, specifically clinoptilolite. It's 1/8 of all the rocks in the world, and it naturally, just like kitty litter, some people use it as kitty litter, it pulls these toxins out of the air, filters it, cleans it, holds those toxins inside, and then releases the air back into the environment. Well, what if you could have this product small enough, clean enough to go in the bloodstream and the lymphatic system, not interfere with any cells at all or any medicines at all, and it simply passively grabs only heavy metals, leaves the calcium, leaves the magnesium, leaves the potassium, the sodium, the phosphate, and only grabs toxins, including microplastics and plastics, and that's what we have. So a couple quick slides here. We micronize it from the 40 microns down to 5. This is special equipment that Rick had to invent. We activate, micronize the powder down by adding it to ultra purified water, use certain acids and heat to start this process. We then start cleaning the toxins out of this material and decrease its size even smaller. Process repeated at least 5 times over 4 days. So it's a time-consuming product to make. And then we remove all those toxins to where it tests completely clean. We end up with zeolite smaller than a micron that's intact cage that's completely clean of all the toxins that were in it when we received it. And it's ready to go in a bottle and then go to you where it can go in your body. And the key is to decrease the burden on the body by grabbing these toxins so the liver doesn't have to deal with them. Let's stop for some questions. Anybody have any questions?
You have a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
My wife and I have had a health clinic for 25 years. We've probably done 1,000 blood analysis, and not just live blood cells, it's also tissue and organ. It's a 2-hour process, and there are over 70 different profiles that we look at. And I guarantee you 60% of them, the issue is heavy metals. Hey, I'm 82 years old. I'm gonna live to be 100. I'm gonna be standing up and listen to somebody like you when I'm 100 years old. And I appreciate your time and your scientific knowledge. I'm tuning into everything you say, as my wife is, and that's that pretty lady at the bottom of the screen there. Anyway, thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing.